Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurata Vrinda.
But from practicing, dharana develops, which is the firm stage of remembrance, reached after a regular tug of war between the mind and the soul. The mind running like a untamed horse, trying to escape from its owner. And the soul practicing withdrawing the mind from its diverse distractions and practicing to focus on remembrance of the Lord. In that difficult struggle between the wandering mind and the sincere soul develops into dhyan, which is the stage of actual concentration on the name, form, qualities, pastimes, free from outward unwanted disturbances of the fickle mind. The next stage is Divanasmriti, at which point the mind has become like what Queen Kunti describes in her aspirations, expressed in her prayers to Lord Krishna. May my attraction forever flow to you like the incessant waves of the Ganges on her journey to the sea. The next and final stage in the sequence is samadhi, where the Lord spontaneously reveals himself within the heart of the devotee. This is different from the Brahma Samadhi achieved by jnanis. And in this stage of samadhi, the devotee achieves an uninterrupted realization of the pastimes of the Lord. And the devotee's heart at this stage is transformed into a veritable tirtha, or holy dham, where the pastimes unfold like the endless waves in the vast ocean. So as we see, the final stage in smriti is samadhi, which Srila Prabhupada quotes the Vedic dictionary meaning fixed mind, specifically fixed on Krishna. And when a soul attains that state of samadhi, when he departs this world to ascend to Golok, the shrine where his physical remains are contained, or the flowers decorating his form when he departed, or even those items which invoke remembrance of that departed soul, in which he is also present, is also called samadhi. The state of advanced Krishna consciousness, where the Lord is revealing his pastimes in your heart, is samadhi. The soul who has achieved that state, when he departs this world, the place where, whether his form or sometimes ashes, as in the case of the Mughal invasions, where the Muslims were desecrating holy places, shrines, and samadhis. Sometimes saintly souls' bodies are burned. Not normally, because their body being placed in Deha Samadhi or Bhu Samadhi is considered a blessing to the earth, which is why saintly souls are not usually burned. Only in fear of their bodies being desecrated are they sometimes cremated. Samadhis are usually found, if not always found, in holy places. And they contribute to the potency and purifying effect of tirthas and holy dhams, which are enriched and embellished by the presence of samadhis of great souls and departed acharyas. And what is their contribution to the experience of the holy dham? More important than worship of the Lord is worship of His pure devotee, by whose grace alone are we able to enter Vrindavan. As Srila Prabhupada so often quoted the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, "When will I be attracted to the teachings of the 6 Goswamis? For only then, taking their instructions to heart, can I understand Radha and Krishna, and what is this land of Vrindavan?" The care and maintenance and attendance of samadhis contributes an integral part to the development of our Krishna consciousness. Because a deceased Vaishnava continues to reside in his samadhi in the form in which he practiced devotional service in this world, appearing as a sadhaka, while simultaneously participating in the Lord's pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan. The extent to which we can realize this personal presence is a matter of our faith and purity, and perhaps most of all, the grace of those great souls. Lord Kapil also describes samadhi as that state of constant remembrance of the Lord's pastimes, name, form, and qualities. And as Krishna tells Uddhava, amongst the progressive stages of yoga, I am samadhi, when the soul is completely free from illusion by dint of being fully absorbed in the pastimes of the Lord. And Krishna himself says that when one achieves such a state of samadhi, he will certainly reach the supreme abode. Samadhi also can be translated as completion or joining. And it also means yoga pit, that region where the spiritual and phenomenal worlds overlap, which offer and provide us an opportunity to join with these souls residing in that state of samadhi, to either develop or continue a relationship with him or her in his service in the spiritual world. Thus, to summarize, samadhi means both that perfect state of consciousness as well as the tomb that contains the remains, or by various means invokes the presence of that departed Vaishnava or Acharya, and is thus a place of intense spiritual purity, a juncture between the material and spiritual worlds. How does a departed soul's spiritual potency remain in his physical form after he departs this world? Srila Prabhupada explains this very simply in terms of an analogy he uses to help us understand the principle. As we practice devotional service and become more purified and freed from the distractions of the material world and fixed in the different stages of smriti, which comes from smaranam, we become spiritualized. The material body develops spiritual characteristics according to the analogy Srila Prabhupada frequently used of an iron rod placed in fire, which gradually becomes hotter and hotter, red hot, yellow hot, and it becomes qualitatively as good as fire, and anything it touches bursts into flames. This is called Chinmaya, the devotee who is freed from material contamination by absorption in the Lord. Developing the theme a little further, Srimad Bhagavatam tells a pastime which demonstrates this principle quite deeply. After reciting the Narayan Kavacha to Indra, the Brahmana Vishvarup told a story to reinforce his instructions and philosophy. The pastime of a Brahmana named Kaushika, who had so perfected his chanting of the Narayan Kavacha, which both shields the body in the protective armor of sound and transforms the body into the living form of that mantra. So this process, having been perfected by this Brahmana Kaushika, gave up his body by his own desire in the middle of the desert, an unknown region to anyone, until Chitrarat, this Gandharva, was flying over that desert in his airplane, which was forcibly drawn down to the ground and unable to proceed any further. It was like he had been denied entrance into that airspace. And bewildered, he asked the sages in that region, what is the cause? And they told him, you were passing over the skeleton of Kaushika. And you cannot proceed any further or achieve your destination until you reverentially and properly, according to our instructions, place his remains in the Saraswati River, which he did, after which he resumed his flight and achieved his destination. That demonstrates how, from the physical remains of a purified soul, spiritual potency continues to emanate. It's not only the physical form of a departed soul that has this potency. Srila Prabhupada quotes Lord Shiva in his instructions to Durga on this very important principle of Tadeya. Mahadev tells his wife, "O Devi, the most exalted form of worship is service to Vishnu. Greater still is Tadeya, worship of those things belonging to Vishnu." Now this can refer to Vaishnavas. It can refer to the possessions of Vaishnavas, which also belong to Vishnu. And it extends to anything connected to Vaishnavas, especially those items which invoke remembrance, like their clothes, their beads, their belongings, Srila Prabhupada's cane, or drum, or tooth. So that spiritual potency of a departed Vaishnava's remains can be transferred to any of his belongings or things related to him. And that spiritual potency is sustained and personally protected by the special, personal, confidential will of the Lord. And why is this the Lord's will? To the extent that He personally sustains and protects and honors, as we see in the history and culture of Vaishnava samadhis, was actually inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in the passing away of Haridas Thakur, where Lord Chaitanya personally excavated the site. He danced with the body of Haridas Thakur. He bathed his departed form in the sea, declaring that the sea is now a holy place. Lord Chaitanya begged alms to cook a feast in honor of Haridas Thakur, something he never did for anyone else. And he also proclaimed, he proclaimed, the snake charmer who saw that Haridas Thakur, seeing his cobra dancing hypnotically to the sound of his flute, which threw Haridas Thakur into remembrance of Krishna and Kaliya, and Haridas Thakur began dancing to the drama of this Leela. And it attracted the attention and reverence of everyone, and then that Smarta Brahmin began imitating the snake charmer, beat him and drove him away, and people were shocked. Why could you beat a Brahmana while you're worshiping this Muslim? And the snake charmer through whom Anantadev, the king of serpents himself, was speaking. It was a long narration. But the one thing I would like to emphasize is Anantadev, through the mouth of the snake charmer, said that Haridas is so pure that anyone who even so much as chants or remembers his name will attain the supreme abode. So this is also Tadiya, the name of Vaishnavas. And Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, after giving a long list of the names of the devotees who are coming to Puri from Bengal for Rath Yatra, says that simply hearing these names purifies the heart, even if you don't know who they are. But back to the question, why is it the Lord's special and confidential will that the spiritual potency residing in the physical remains of a departed Vaishnava endures? This is a very personal matter. And reveals the Lord's desire for the welfare of this world and the opportunities offered for posterity. Common people will not continue in their worship unless they feel a sense of loving reciprocation. Moreover, it is Krishna's greatest desire and pleasure to see that his devotees are honored.